let's go ahead and break down the Major League Baseball season here, and we'll talk about some of these. Let's talk about some of these things that we are looking at, and some of these bets that we are looking to make as well, Brett. Let's get in here to the AL East, and let's start out with some of these teams. And guys, again, we have a huge breakdown. You see right here if you're watching on your screen, if you're watching on YouTube, just click on that MLB icon right there in the center of the screen. Boom, pulls up all of our MLB content here, and you can see all of these previews that we have right there on the line. So be sure and take advantage of that. But yeah, every single team. But I'm going to right now go ahead and just pull up baseball odds here on the various sports books so that we can take a look at what's going on with with all these baseball odds here. We've gone in and we've kind of done a little bit of a dive here to help you out and try to find some of the best odds that are going to be available for you. And, when we start in the AL East here, Brett, I mean, look, all eyes are on the Yankees, and this is, I can't in any way, shape, or form try to discredit that at all. I mean, you look at this team and it is just absolutely stacked up and down the lineup. And, when I look at this and I try to poke holes in it, maybe you can, but we're looking here at minus 305 favorites to win that division. And it looks to me as if that is probably justified.
Is it? I don't know about
290 actually over here on FanDuel, as you see on your screen. So 290 over here on FanDuel if you were looking to bet them there. What is your what's your thought if you're saying is it? Because I mean, where are we seeing any sort of weakness here in this team?
Well, the team is good. But they are dealing with some of the same injury problems they had last year. Severino's out for the year. James Paxton is back, but he's still battling that back injury. Aroldis Chapman tested positive for COVID, probably won't be ready for opening night. We'll see when he comes back. Stanton and Judge are back, but always injury prone as they always have been. A lot of unknowns here. Yes, they added Garrett Cole to the rotation. That's huge. The bullpen is phenomenal. No doubt. This is probably the best bullpen in baseball, up there with the Rays, who I'll talk about in a second. But if you're paying such a high price for the Yankees to win this division, and there's just so much randomness here, I don't want to pay that much juice. Plus, I mean, look, this is a betting market. A lot of money has come in on the Yankees, especially to win the World Series. So again, you're paying an inflated price on this team that is not a lock to even make the playoffs in a 60-game season. So no thank you on the Yankees.
I would actually say a lock to make the playoffs, but I will not say a lock to win the division. And for me, with that, it's going to be a pass for me, man. Like I just can't see myself taking a flyer here on this Yankees team at that type of price here for this division at 305. And we'll talk about the World Series a little bit later as well, where I probably can't see myself doing that either. But let's talk about the win total here on them. 37.5 at DraftKings and FanDuel, 38.5 at Fox Bet. So what do you see here from this 37.5 win total? So if you guys are wondering at home, if you break that down, 37 wins comes out to about a 100-win season. So if you thought that this was a 100-win team, 37 wins is about a 100-win team. So you're looking at a team that needs to be kind of a 102, 103 if you want the over at 37.5, more like a 104, 105 win team if you want the over on the 38.5 over at Fox Bet.
Well, if they're going to win the division, they're probably going to have to win 37 games. I don't see them winning the division, so I would take the under. I would take the under 37.5. You get 38.5 at Fox Bet. You got to pay a little more juice there, but I like all the unders on the Yankees here.
So you're going to be taking the unders on the Yankees. That is quite interesting. I mean, I don't know, man. You did connect the dots there, how you would kind of like go about everything though, because if you don't think that they're going to win the division, then you're likely going to be taking the unders on that. So for me, Brett, I'm looking at this scenario and saying, like, if you do want to bet the Yankees, right? If you are in on the Yankees, and here we are right here, 37.5, 110 on both sides over here at FanDuel. we just saw the division odds of them winning the division odds are minus 290, minus 305, minus 300 at the various sports books. Wouldn't you just take the over on their win total and leave it at that? Because how many times are they going to win that division, or how many times are they going to lose that division with winning over 37.5 games? So if you think that they're going to get there, if you think that they're going to get over the win total, I would recommend just betting the win total as opposed to paying that massive juice for them to win the division, because how many times are they going to win 38 games and then lose the division, right?
Yeah. I haven't done the math on it. It's what's the percentage of interdivision games in the shortened 60-game season compared to the usual season? Because it's going to be hard for them to go over their win total and lose the division just because so many games are against teams in that division.
Right. It's a much higher percentage of your games against your interdivision opponents. So that's why I was saying, for me, if you like the Yankees at over 37.5, then just bet that and don't worry about betting them for the division or anything like that, because it's very rare that they're going to win 38 games and not win that division, because that means they will have beaten every team in that division a lot of times. And so for me, that's the way I would go about playing this Yankees team here. Of course, Brett, one of the things about this Yankees team being completely loaded is the fact there's also a bunch of player futures that you could bet on this Yankees team as well. Most notably will be the home run leader. Most notably will be the MVP award as well. Home run leader, you're looking at Giancarlo Stanton coming in at 11-1, Aaron Judge coming in at 20-1. So if you're looking at kind of those type of deals on the MVP side of things, you'll see that there'll be some Yankees involved in there as well. We'll talk about the MVP a little bit later as well, but you can see that these guys coming up, Judge 8-1 here at DraftKings, Gleyber Torres at 20-1. There's Yankees up and down this lineup. Stanton at 33-1, LeMahieu 40-1. I mean, there's so many guys, Yankees, that are on the list here for MVP. So we'll talk about MVP just a little bit later when we take a look at that. The Rays is a team that you want to talk about. So let's take a look at this Rays team and tell me what you think about 33.5 wins. We're sitting here, DraftKings and FanDuel, at 33.5 wins, 34.5 wins over at Fox Bet.
I do not have that in my account. I have my biggest bet going into the season is on them to win the division. So it's going to be really tilting if they go over their win total and still lose the division, because I probably should have bet the over win total. But I love this team so much, man. The pitching depth, the versatility with this roster. I think with the shortened season, they are quite possibly the most dangerous team in baseball. They are loaded with talent in the bullpen. This team traded one of the better setup men in baseball, in Emilio Pagan, and still have the deepest pen in baseball. So, I mean, they could, if they wanted, every single night start their bullpen in the 6th inning, regardless of the score, and just keep Morton, Glasnow, and Snen.
I think a lot of teams will do that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of teams are going to do that, and especially teams like that are built here to do that. If you like the over, you can see, though, 33.5 juiced to 126 over here on FanDuel. It is juiced to 130 over here on DraftKings. And as we mentioned, as we were taking a look at the win totals for some of these teams over at Fox Bet, they're a little bit different on some of these win totals. We talked about a full win for the Yankees. It's also a full win for the Rays as well. So it's coming in at 34.5 over here, minus 110 on both sides. And as you can see, guys, this is probably as good a time as any to point this out. Be sure and look at the house rules. And Brett, we talk about this all the time, but let's just, especially in as weird a season as this going to be, make sure you know your house rules. Because as you see right here on your screen for Fox Bet, exactly 60 games must be played for action. But then we look over here on FanDuel, and it's 59 games are for the bets to stand. So again, these different books can have different house rules. So make sure you know what you're betting into when you get going here. But Brett, I mean, if you were to bet this, are you confident enough in them at the 34.5 to go ahead and take the higher number so you're only paying the 110 juice? Or are you going ahead and just laying the big wood at like 130 over here at DraftKings for the over 33.5? And typically you guys might be snickering at something like that, but in a very reduced season like this, like one win can mean an incredible amount. So there is actually a decision to be made as how you want to tackle this.
There's a correct mathematical answer to this that I don't have in my brain right now. I would have to punch the numbers on that. I don't know, honestly. Yeah. I would think the over, even if you're paying. Actually, I don't know. I'd have to look into that. I'm not sure what is better, the 33.5 juice to the over or the 34.5 at minus 110. But
yeah, it's kind of, there is some sort of mathematical formula here. I think a lot of people will probably just be going with what they feel more comfortable with in a lot of these because, again, unprecedented times right now, unprecedented things that are going on. The rest of that division, I don't think we're going to have much interest in here. The Red Sox, if you take a look here, guys, let's find Red Sox off the board here at DraftKings for whatever reason on the win total, which I find pretty interesting. Yeah. But they're on the board over here at FanDuel sitting at 29.5. So we actually have seen a big drop in the win total, even just since we put this, our show sheet together yesterday. So we've seen a big drop. It was sitting at 30.5 at FanDuel yesterday. It is down to 29.5 over at FanDuel today. So, so Boston going a little, oh, wow. And 31.5, as you see here on your screen, still holding tried and true over at Fox Bet. So you actually have a 29.5 out there and a 31.5 out there. If you wanted to take a flyer on the Red Sox here, if you wanted the over at Fox Bet on the 31.5, you're getting even money here, Brett. I mean, this is a team for me. I don't know what your feelings are on this Red Sox team, but with no Chris Sale, Colin McHugh has gone ahead and he is opted out as well. I don't have a lot to like about this team here. I mean, you're talking Erod, Nathan Eovaldi, Martin Perez, and Ryan Weber is going to be your starting rotation there for this Boston Red Sox team. I have that pulled up on the screen for those of you watching on video. And so when that's your rotation, buddy, I think it's let's look forward to 2021.
They'll still be able to produce runs. They've got Devers, they got Bogarts, JD Martinez is still great, but yeah, this staff is a disaster. The bullpen might even be worse. Like there's nothing here that I like with Boston. I was actually entertaining their World Series price kept dropping, especially on FanDuel. FanDuel was the first to it. They're like, nah, nobody's betting this team. Let's just drop them. And I understand why nobody wants to bet them. I mean, they got rid of bets. They have no Chris Sale. There's nothing really here to get excited about. So I think and the fact that I'm all over the Rays, I mean, I just want nothing to do with the Red Sox this year.
The Blue Jays are a team that a lot of people are thinking are going to be good, maybe not this year. Right. However, it's kind of like the baby Blue Jays, and they might have really picked it up towards the end of the season if that would have been the case, Brett. But whenever we look at how this season is shortened up, a lot of these guys are going to have to do some growing up real quick, and it might not just be enough time for them to mesh here. Then there's the thing about them not being able to play their home games at home, so they're not going to be able to play in Toronto, maybe Buffalo, maybe somewhere else. So weird that we are a few days away from the start of the season, and we don't know where they're going to play here. So, look, I like the prospects of this Blue Jays team. If you guys are looking on your screen right now, you can see, I mean, this lineup, Bichette, Biggio, Gurriel, Guerrero, even Teoscar Hernandez is a guy that can do some things here. I mean, there's a lot of players here for this Blue Jays team for the future. I just don't know if it's going to be able to gel in time this season. So big punt on them for me.
Yeah, same. Toronto's a team to watch because we don't know where they're going to be playing home games. And I don't think it matters a whole lot from like a futures betting perspective, but single game markets will be affected depending on where they are playing. If it is Buffalo, I have sat down there a lot, and you're going to want to watch the weather if they play in Buffalo because the wind is swirling all the time down there. You don't know which way it's going to go. So totals are going to be impacted a lot if they play in Buffalo. That's one thing you're definitely going to want to watch if they end up playing in Buffalo. It could be Florida, which probably won't impact weather much at all. They could play in Pittsburgh, which is a pitcher's park. So there's a lot still that we don't know about what's going on with the Blue Jays and where they're going to be playing baseball this year.
The Baltimore Orioles are another team here. If you take a look at nobody wants anything to do with this team. Yes, that is correct. You are looking at 20.5 is going to be the win total here. 20.5. That's across the board. DraftKings, FanDuel, and Fox Bet. If you want the over, FanDuel or Fox Bet. If you want the under, head over to DraftKings here. I don't know why you would ever bet an over on this team. Brett, there's not really much to say here. They're going to be one of the 3 worst teams in baseball, and I would be fairly confident in saying that.
If you do, for some reason, like some of the players on this team and you think they have enough to win 21 games, like fine, I can see a path to that, but division is off the table for me. I just don't see any value there, especially when you're playing in the same division as the Yankees and the Rays, who I think might be the best team in baseball. So again, no Orioles for me.
If you want the over, like Brett said, if you do want to take a flyer on the over, you're going to want to bet that at FanDuel. It's sitting at -104 over there. If you want to take the under, it's 110 over at Fox Bet. So that's where you're going to get the best odds on that. As we see right now, you're not alone, Brett. The Rays, we got some information from DraftKings, and they are getting a hefty percent of the handle coming in over there at the at the DraftKings Sportsbook.
I could not believe this when it came in, and it's, you know what? It makes sense. I was waiting for this price to drop on the Rays. It's plus 350 to win the division. I was hoping it would fall into plus 375, and it never did. So that's why I got my bet in on Saturday. But now I see why, because I placed my bet at a Kambi book, and DraftKings is a Kambi book. So yeah, I mean, they are getting piles of money coming in on the Rays to win the division. More bets on the Yankees, but big money coming in on the Rays at plus 350.
Let's head here to the Central and the AL Minnesota Twins. If you take a look here, 34.5 is the win total at DraftKings, juiced pretty heavily here, as you can see. 34.5 at FanDuel, 34.5 over at Fox Bet. So across the board, you're getting 34.5. If you want to take any of these, I would take the over. You would be taking the over at DraftKings. You want the under over at Fox Bet. But Brett, Minnesota Twins should be a team here that really makes some noise. I like this team a lot. They are -130, as you see on your screen right here at DraftKings, to win the American League Central. I love this Twins team. I'm all over this Twins team. I think that it's a year too early, like we were talking about with the Blue Jays. For the White Sox, I think that team is going to make some noise in 2021 as well. The Indians will always be right there in the mix, but I really do just like what I see in this Minnesota Twins team.
I think the Twins are the best value in this division right now because so many people are on the White Sox. Chicago's the sexiest team in this division right now, for sure. No surprise to see the amount of betting action on them with all the prospects now entering the majors, and there are a lot of them on that White Sox team. But this Twins team is so loaded. To me, they are the clear favorites in this division, or they would be in a full 162-game season. We don't know what's going to happen now, but I still think they are the clear favorite. The gap has closed a little bit in the shortened season, but yeah, I think Minnesota, even at -130 to win the division, I think is pretty good.
You take a look at this lineup right here. Nice pitching staff as well. Barrios, Odorizzi. They added Rich Hill and Kenta Maeda, which is pretty good. Innings eater in Homer Bailey as well. And then this, I mean, guys, just seriously, look at this lineup. Kepler, Polanco, Cruz, Donaldson, Rosario, Sano, Garver is your 1 through 7 right there. That is a murderer's row right there. Then you have Byron Buxton hitting 9th in that kind of like second leadoff position. If he can ever kind of start to make contact with the ball and not strike out every third time that he steps in the batter's box, I mean, just a crusher here on this Twins team. I'm with you. I love this bet on them to win the division at 130 is one of the bets that is in my account here, guys. So cha-ching, that Very one good. Is in my account. I do like this Minnesota Twins team a ton. We talk about the Indians here, Brett, plus 265 for this division. We're looking at 32.5 win total over at DraftKings, 33.5 over at both FanDuel and Fox Bet. So if you want to take a look at how you want to go about betting this thing, you're going to want the over on DraftKings. You're going to want the under over on Fox Bet at minus 105 if you're looking to do that. Brett, this is this Indians team. People were worried that they were going to have to shed some payroll and they were going to have to do all that in a regular baseball season. But in this shortened baseball season, they're going to be in the mix most likely, unless things just go off the rails real quick. So it's likely that they keep everyone on the roster here. And with that being the case, I'll pull it up here on your screen as you guys want to take a look here with this Indians team. This is not a bad team. I don't know why people are kind of sleeping on this Indians team completely, but I mean, Lindor, Mercado, Santana, Reyes, Ramirez, Domingo Santana, who was kind of a do-it-all guy. This team's going to win some games.
I think they're better than Chicago, so I don't understand all the love for the White Sox. I think this is like a fringy playoff team. They're like right in there, like number 5, 6, 7 in the American League. So, and they could totally win this division too. So you're getting barely a better price on them over the White Sox. So I certainly like them to win the division over the White Sox. But yeah, I think this is kind of like the forgotten team in the American League this year. Like, hey, this team is still pretty good and they're good everywhere. They have a great top of their staff. The lineup is still intact, and the bullpen's pretty solid with Hand and Whitgren and some of these younger guys. So I don't get it.
Bieber and Clevenger is your 1-2 in a shortened season, and then if you have any sort of resurgence at all, your number 3 is then Carrasco. I mean, like, you're going to win a lot of games with those 3 pitchers just alone right there. So yeah, I'm with you here. Kind of a sneaky play for me. This win total, fairly interesting for me at 32.5. You're just looking at a team that's got to be a little bit over 500. I actually think that they get there playing in a division with the Royals and the Tigers as well. So I lean to the over here on this Indians team. White Sox, Royals, and Tigers. Not much to say about the Royals and Tigers, Brett. I mean, like, let's just be honest. Not a ton to say here. Royals 90-1, Tigers 130-1, even just to win the division here. So we won't spend a ton of time here talking about those. Tigers is 21.5 win total. If you have any interest in betting that, the Royals 23.5 win total at DraftKings, 24.5 over at FanDuel and at Fox Bet. But the White Sox are the interesting team. Plus 285 to win the division. If we go and look at these win totals and stuff like that, we're starting to see some of these. We're starting to see some of these numbers here where I scratch my head. We're talking about 31.5 here for this White Sox team. And the big catch is if you want the over, minus 130. It is a big juice hit to take the over here on this team, Brett. And I love them as much as you do in 2021 and 2022. I think that this team could make a lot of noise in 2021, 2022, but there is going to be a lot of reliance on a lot of young players for this team. And maybe they catch lightning in a bottle in a short 60-game season. I just don't have a ton of faith in that.
That's the thing. They could be like just out of nowhere. Could they win the World Series? There was enough talent here, certainly, too. They added Edwin Encarnacion, Grandal is there, and all this lineup is loaded with talent. But the hype train is real with this team, and the betting market has shifted to where it's like you can't find a good price on this team anymore. So I'm off of them. But if you want to throw a little bet on them to win the World Series, I could totally understand that. Again, you're not getting a good price now. They were 50-1 at Fox Bet just a couple weeks ago. I almost did it, even though I don't like them this year. You just kind of have to bet that.
Yeah, you play the number.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm not on this team this year. I think the smart bet in this division is the Twins and maybe the Indians.
The money coming in and that lineup that Brett was talking about right there highlighted on your screen if you're watching at home. I mean, look, it does look pretty loaded here, but there is also some regression candidates here. Tim Anderson, Yoan Moncada, they had just massive, like positive. Like they were way ahead of the mean last year. I think that they come back down to earth just a little bit here. So, I think the White Sox are getting a little bit too much hype, but they are getting all the money, Brett. They are getting tons and tons of money at DraftKings Sportsbook. 44% of the handle, 30% of the bets. And, I get it. They're young, they're sexy. Luis Robert is going to be one of the names that you hear probably over the next decade in the sport, because if he plays out like everybody says, he's kind of like the second coming of, well, you know, I'm saying this in air quotes. He's not the greatest player of all time, but like everyone's saying like the second coming of Mike Trout, like he's got it all, 5-tool player and all that. But, you know, again, I just think it's a little too soon here, a little too early. Give me the White Sox in 2021.
I'm with you. I also saw the White Sox are the most popular World Series bet at one of the books in Vegas. So if you like the Twins or Indians this year, you can probably find a pretty good price on them somewhere.
Yeah, go get them. Go get them. The AL West. And so we'll take a look at the West here. The Astros, A's, Angels, Rangers, and Mariners. You can take a look here, guys, as we're looking at the odds for this division. And this one is pretty interesting. The Astros 155, but not too far behind here. The A's at 230. Then you start to see some big drop-offs here. The Angels at 550, the Rangers at 1,600, and of course the Mariners are going to be in that tier where we were talking about the three worst teams in all of baseball. The Mariners are going to be right down there in that 80-1 just to win the division there in the American League West. But Brett, let's kick things off here with the Astros. They got a win total of 35.5 across the board. That's DraftKings, FanDuel, and Fox Bet. Your best over is going to be even money over at Fox Bet. Your best under is going to be minus 118 over at DraftKings or at FanDuel. Take your pick wherever you want to do that. But if you did want an over on this Houston team, head on over to Fox Bet, where you can see right here, you can get it at even money on the over 35.5 games. Look, I think the Astros probably lucked out here with the way that this season's going to play out. No fans. They're not going to be getting booed every single place they go. It's not going to be like this horrible deal where every single time a guy steps up to bat, he's getting cheater yelled at him, and like people are doing all kinds of this. Like, if anybody benefited from the playing conditions, I think it's probably the Astros.
Definitely. But I don't know what this team is. I think that's the most interesting thing coming into the season is are they as good as we've seen them over the past few years? Because now they won't be cheating in their home stadium. If you're playing numbers, nobody's betting Houston. So you can probably get a good price on them to win the division. Their over is probably a pretty good price right now. Their World Series, I mean, it's not a great price when you consider that, you know, we're playing in a shortened season, but even still, again, nobody is betting on this team. So I kind of like them from that side of it. I mean,
155 to win the West seems pretty doable for me, because a lot of people are super high. And look, I think the A's could make some noise. I think that there is a chance that they could make some noise. There's no doubt about that. But you know, people are real high on the A's here. You can actually get 145 over at FanDuel, as you see right now on my screen. So the Astros 145 to win the division there at FanDuel. I got to admit, man, like the talent is there. I mean, you look up and down this lineup. It's another one of those lineups where you look at it and you say, like, where's the easy out? You're talking Springer, Bregman, Altuve, Correa, Yordan Alvarez, Yuri Gurriel, Michael Brantley, Josh Reddick, maybe Kyle Tucker, depending on who wins that position there. 1 through 8 for this Astros team is just solid as they come. And then, of course, we know Verlander, Greinke, McCullers, Josh James, and then it looks like Urquidy might come in that 5th spot there, depending on if he can get over this injury that he's dealing with. But I don't know, man. People hate the Astros, and that's fine by me because I don't bet with emotions. So, I mean, like hate them, bet against them, drive this number down, and let me take advantage of what I consider to be a number that's probably a little bit out of whack with the talent level that's on this Astros team. Yeah,
this is probably one that's going to end up in my account by Thursday. This team is just so loaded. Lance McCullers looked awesome last night. That kid is good. And then you look at the bullpen here. Roberto Osuna, one of the better closers in baseball over the past few years. They're looking at Ryan Presley as a closer now. The back of this bullpen is so good. So, I mean, there are no weaknesses on this team. As long as they're as good as we think they are. I mean, they have been cheating over the years, so maybe they're not as good. But yeah, I don't really see a path to any other team winning this division, honestly.
The A's are the other kind of the belle of the ball here in this division. A lot of bets coming in on the A's. A lot of people really digging this A's team. That information that we've gotten from DraftKings, we're talking 56% of the handle being bet on the AL West is coming in on the Oakland A's. Look, I get it. A 33.5 win total across the board as well. So 33.5 at DraftKings, FanDuel, and Fox Bet. If you want the best over, you're going to find 110 over at FanDuel. If you want the best under, 110 at FanDuel and Fox Bet both. I like this team, Brett, but I also believe here that this is just another kind of one of those A's teams that will probably battle for a wild card spot. Yeah. But I don't see them getting over the hump and getting and being better than the Astros here in this division.
No, you compare these two rosters and the Astros are far better. I don't understand the hype here with this A's team. Where is who's leading this rotation? Montes?
Right. I mean, you're having to rely on two rookie pitchers in Luzardo and Puck if you think that this team is going to make some noise here. I mean, Sean Manaea, Frankie Montas, Mike Fiers, certainly workhorse dudes, but doesn't really make you feel confident about what's going on here. You're going to have monster seasons from there too. And look, these are two super stud prospects in Luzardo and Puck. And so either one of these dudes lives up to the hype. And yeah, these A's could certainly make some noise here, but you just look at this lineup, Brett. I mean, there's just a lot that I don't like here. I think Marcus Semien probably comes back down to earth after a resurgent 2019. You got Chris Davis, who every year, he's going to hit a few jacks, but he's going to hit 230. That's what he does every single year. He hits 230, and then it's just a bunch of kind of those guys that are like, Mark Canha and Stephen Piscotty, and you're just kind of like, they're fine, but they're not that team that's going to be able, I don't think, to take down the Astros here. And so, I don't know. I think a lot of people's hate of the Astros is playing into their bias in this division.
Yep, and I think that's a good opportunity if you are looking at the Astros and the best number possible in this division. I think it's probably the Astros.
I don't think we have any interest in any of these other in any of the Angels or Mariners, but the Rangers are fairly interesting. The Angels, guys, look. All I can say about the Angels, if you want to bet the Angels, more power to you. But with all the question marks around that team, I am staying far away. It looks like Anthony Rendon is not going to start the season with the team. We don't know really what's going on with Mike Trout. We do know at the very least we're probably going to be without him for 10 games because he has pretty much said he is going to leave for the birth of his child. So you have to assume that he's going to be not there for 10 games. I don't know, bro. I am more power to you if you want to bet the Angels. I will not be.
I'm with you. Too many questions. Too many question marks with Trout, and now Anthony Rendon with the oblique injury that could linger all season. It's a short season. I don't know what this guy's going to look like this year. So I don't like where the Angels are sitting right now at all.
Yeah, Ohtani coming back off injury. There's just way too many question marks there. We mentioned the Mariners going to be one of the very worst teams in all baseball. Look, if you want the win total, it's 24.5. Your best over is going to be over at FanDuel at 106. Your best under is 110 over at Fox Bet if you want to bet this team. No interest in the Mariners at all for me, but I know that you do have some interest in the Rangers.
I do like the Rangers. Maybe not to win the division. They're plus 1,600. Maybe throw a little on that, but I like Texas to make the playoffs. I think they're plus 650 at DraftKings. I haven't looked at any of the other sites yet, but you look at this rotation, there is a lot of experience here at the top. Kluber, Lance Lynn, Mike Minor. They added Kyle Gibson, another veteran guy, as their fourth starter. That's very solid for a team that is plus 1,600 to win the division, plus 650 to make the playoffs. I think there are enough bats here to stay competitive, especially if Joey Gallo is seeing the ball well. We'll talk about MVP candidates later, but Gallo is one of my guys. The big question mark for me is the bullpen. Leclerc, Rafael, Montero are fine in the late innings, but they have really nobody outside of that. That's what you're going to have to. If you're betting the Rangers this year, just get ready for a lot of blown late leads because they're going to happen.
18-1 for the division over at FanDuel if you are interested at that. And then one of the things I think I am interested here, is I think this team could be a 500 team, Brett. I think this team is 500 good and maybe even a game or two over 500 good. So if you take a look over here, 28.5 is what we're seeing, and you can get the over at 110. And I'm feeling pretty good about that, feeling pretty good about taking the over on those games. I mean, I think actually there might even be a better number over here on DraftKings as well. Yeah, the over is at 106. So minus 106 on over 28.5 games. Look, if you can get anything out of Kluber, if he can have any sort of resurgence whatsoever, I'm like you. I think that there's a lot of experience there in that rotation. Kluber kind of gets back on track a little bit. And then you look at the lineup with a lot of interesting bats, a lot of interesting prospects here in this for this team. And so for me, definitely going to be making some of my betting tickets here. And look, it's a 500 team in my opinion. I think we're getting a good price on the over here, especially over at DraftKings at 106. So give me the over on that, and I'll make that an official play for me as well.
Boom. Yeah, I like that too. So yeah, I'm going to be betting Astros division, Rangers playoffs, Rangers over, I think, is the way I'm looking at this division. So yeah.
Let's take a look here at the NL East. With the NL East, Braves, Nationals, Mets, Phillies, and Marlins. So other than the Marlins, which we are going to spend no time talking about, there we go, throwing on that old Phillies helmet there.
Little props here.
This is going to be, in my opinion, probably the most competitive division in all of baseball this year. And so when you take a look here, it's reflected in the odds. At DraftKings, Braves, 215 to win the division, Nationals 250 to win the division, Mets 275 to win the division, and then Phillies at 325. It is all clumped up together. You are listen to these win totals for all these teams. Braves 33.5, Nationals 33.5, Mets 32.5, Phillies 31.5. So again, it is all clumped together. It is all up in the air here. So Brett, let's look at this division as a whole here. I don't see any advantage, I don't think, in betting any of these teams to win the division. I don't know if you have a differing opinion on me, but at these prices here, with it being so incredibly volatile, I don't think I'm getting the return on the volatility.
The only thing I would look at, and this is just strictly a market play, since nobody is betting on the Nationals, for some reason the defending champ's getting no action. I like the Nationals the best out of this foursome, just because, again, there's no money coming in on them, so you're probably getting a better price than some of these other teams. But that's it. I mean, I don't see a whole lot of difference between these four teams. I think the Phillies are the worst of the four, so I wouldn't touch them either. But the Nationals, I think, have the best chance of winning this division and winning the most games and getting to the playoffs.
Yeah, if you look over here, nothing really separates any of the prices over on FanDuel either. So, I mean, there's really nothing to point you in a direction if you like any of these. A reminder for the Mets, no Noah Syndergaard this year for them. They will have DeGrom, who obviously is going to be a stud. We're very aware of that, but no Noah Syndergaard. So they are not going to have him in that lineup. That said, this Mets team, when you look at this lineup, is pretty solid, like top to bottom here. When you take a look, I mean, McNeil, Alonso, Conforto, JD Davis, if he's able to replicate what he did last year, Robinson Cano in the last half of last season. I mean, I know he's old and people don't really think about him anymore, but Brett, Robinson Cano had a really good 70 game stretch to end the season last year. Cespedes, here's the big thing about this, might actually stay healthy because he doesn't have to play the field. So, because he's just going to DH for the team. So you have him in the lineup. Then Nimmo, of course, is a guy that's can hit for average, a little bit of pop as well. Wilson Ramos, a nice little addition there. And then Ahmed Rosario closing out that lineup there. So, this Mets team is fairly interesting to me kind of overall here. But with these win totals all sitting at that 33, and they're going to be beating up on each other so much that nothing stands out to me as to whether I want to play an over and under on any of these teams.
I'm with you. I think these teams are so even, and this isn't really, I'm not going out on a limb saying this, but there is going to be a logjam, not only in this division, but for playoff spots in the National League. There are so many teams that are just so close to each other, and the Central too, that they're all right there jumbled together. It's going to be fun to watch, and I think that's I'm just going to sit back and enjoy the ride. Hopefully the Phillies will be in there with it, but I want nothing to do with this division.
Same. I'm kind of punting on that one as well. Let's head to the Central, where I think there are some plays here, at least something that I'm interested in a couple of different ways here. All right, so looking at the Central on the NL side here, the Cubs, Reds, Cardinals, Brewers, and Pirates. Now the Pirates are going to be pretty terrible. They are 70-1 to even win the division there, but another division where we're seeing four pretty good teams: Cubs 225, Reds 230, Cardinals 240, and then the Brewers coming in at 325. These win totals here, Brett, are kind of all jumbled up again as well, like we saw in the East, with the Brewers at 30.5, Cardinals at 32.5. You can find a 31.5 over at FanDuel, the 31.5 over on the Reds, and then 25.5 on the Pirates if you have any interest in that. I think the team for me, and you and I talked a little bit about this, if we're going to embrace the variance, right, and if we're embracing the variance of what's going on here, this Reds team is kind of interesting, especially when you consider kind of how they're constructed. Should they get hot playing in that little ballpark that they play in and all that? You got Moustakas, you got Castellanos. There's just a lot to like here about this Reds team in a division where I'm not in love with the Cubs. I'm not in love with the Brewers. And of course the Pirates are going to be terrible. I don't mind the Reds here.
I liked them a few weeks ago when I can get a better price on them. They are trendy now that people are starting to pay attention. I do have a World Series ticket, a small one on the Reds. I got them at 50-1 at Fox Bet. That has dropped down to 25-1. So I feel pretty good about that one. But I don't like the prices on them now. I think there's better value elsewhere in this division. But it's hard to know where. I mean, this could go any one of four ways. These teams are like exactly the same.
Right. Yeah. I guess it is worth mentioning for the Cardinals, their closer, Jordan Hicks, has opted out of the season. So who will close there? Will it be Carlos Martinez? Will it be Ryan Helsley? Will it be some of these other guys? I mean, it's kind of all up in the air there for what's going to go on with the Cardinals. But do any of the win totals jump out to you at all? Do you think that this Brewers team, I mean, it's basically saying that the Brewers are going to be a 500 team. I like the Brewers to be a 500 team.
Me too. That's the one bet I do like here is the Brewers over. Just give me the lowest total because I think all these teams are the same. So I'll take the over on the Brewers for sure.
Yeah, I like the Brewers to be a 500 team, and so that's kind of the one bet in this division that I've been eyeing. I, too, got in on the Reds a little bit early, so I don't want to give a stale number. I mean, it's kind of – I'm like you. I liked the Reds much more 2 weeks ago when they weren't as trendy and they weren't as hot as they are right now, and that's when I kind of got involved, and I'm with you that at these numbers where they sit right now, it's just a little tough to pull the trigger.
So we like the Brewers. I don't love their price to win the division anywhere except Caesars. They're plus 450 at Caesars. Why are they plus 450 at Caesars?
Yeah, that's a pretty good look right there.
Yeah, if you have access to Caesars, that's a bet I think you need in your account because that is mispriced, and I don't know why. Maybe a lot of money coming in on the Reds.
And that's way off market, as you guys can see right here. I mean, like they're the highest you're seeing is about 325 for any of these other ones. So I mean, that is way off market here for that Brewers team. So definitely take advantage of that. The Reds, you said the price fell. Reds getting all the money according to DraftKings, 57% of the handle coming in on this Reds team. So I think a lot of people like what we liked whenever we liked it a couple weeks ago, but we don't necessarily like it as it sits right now. And let's talk about the West here. There's nothing really to talk about other than the fact the Dodgers are going to win it. But, I guess the question comes in, do the Diamondbacks have enough to challenge for a challenge for a wild card spot? Do the Padres have enough to challenge for a wild card spot? Yes, guys, that number is correct on your screen. The Dodgers minus 715 at DraftKings to win the West. But when you look at this roster, there's just no denying what's going on here. I mean, it's just Betts, Muncy, Turner, Bellinger, Seager, Peterson, Will Smith. I mean, like there's just, it's endless, the talent here that you're getting with this Dodgers team. And then, of course, the pitching staff as well with Kershaw and Buehler and Urias and Alex Wood and all that. I would like to make a case for the Diamondbacks. I think that they're probably going to be better than people think. I like this roster pretty decent here with the two Martes, and I think Peralta is kind of one of those underrated players just because he's not incredibly sexy. And, Lamb we've seen perform before and all that, but Brett, they don't have the firepower to take down the Dodgers. And so it would be me making a case for them just for the sake of making a case. And then at the end going, yeah, but I'm not going to bet that. So I'm not going to waste people's time.
Same. You're probably not going to get great value on the Dodgers at minus 715, but I don't love any of these other teams either. I guess the Padres are a team I do like coming into the season. I think that a lot of young talent here. Manny Machado, I'm expecting big things out of this year. It's such a talented player. We haven't really seen it with him in San Diego yet. And they got Chris Paddock, who is probably the next big stud pitcher in the National League. So there are pieces that I like with this team, but they don't have enough to do it. Yeah. Even in a 60 game season. And I'm all for like chaos in like taking some of these long shots, but not in this division. The Dodgers are just too good.
And not against that team. Yeah, just not against that team. I will say this, the only other note for me is I think the Giants might be top to bottom the worst team in all of baseball. So I bet against them. I'd probably bet against them again if I could. The problem is that win total is sitting here at 25.5. And now the best under you can get is juiced all the way to 140 over at FoxBet. Wow. I still don't know if that's a bad price on this team. Guys, look, no Buster Posey. They have like young prospects that like they know they're going to suck so bad this year that they're not even going to start the clock on these prospects. So they're going to play a bunch of retreads, which is basically what we're looking at here. I mean, listen, Brandon Belt, Evan Longoria, Alex Dickerson, Hunter Pence, Brandon Crawford. It's all old dudes that all are going to hit 240 to 260 and are all going to hit like 4 or 5 home runs. It's just like it's a bad lineup. And then Cueto, Samardzija, Gosman, Drew Smiley, like it's a bunch of old past their prime pitchers that are going to go and give up a bunch of home runs. Like, Brett, I think the Giants could be the worst team in all of the major leagues.
I feel like Brandon Belt and Crawford have been playing with that team since like Bonds was there. And like even going back to like Bat Williams and Robbie Thompson, like Brandon Belt was on that team. Like that's all.
I know.
They haven't changed that position at all. It's like,
I know.
This team is going to be so bad.
Yeah, it's going to be horrible. And so, again, the best you can find on the under of 25.5 is 140 right now at FoxBet. But, again, depending on how your bankroll looks, I do not hate that bet at all. I got to be honest here. So, let's take a look real quick at some other bets you can make before we get out of here. World Series, of course, is going to be a popular bet. If you want to take a look at it, over here at DraftKings, no surprise, Dodgers and Yankees coming in as the overwhelming favorites. Now, Brett, this is how I would go about this, and I want your opinion here. Look, I think we both agree that the AL is much deeper than the NL when it comes to like elite teams. Like, I think you and I would both agree that in any given scenario, the Yankees, the Astros, the Rays, and the Twins would be considered elite teams and probably are better than any team in the NL other than the Dodgers.
Agree.
Probably.
Fully agree.
So I don't see a ton of value in taking a long shot on an AL team because you are going to have to beat the Yankees, the Astros, the Rays, and the Twins. Like it's just a much, much harder path in my opinion. So if I was going to take a long shot in the World Series, I would just at least, the only advice I would give you guys if you want to do this would be to take a National League team, because at least at that point, you only really have to get through one killer, which is going to be the Dodgers, as opposed to having to get through 4 different killers, which is what you're going to get on the AL side.
Right on. I think that's a great process to take into. If you're going to place a futures bet on a long shot, I think it has to be a National League team.
Yeah, it's going to be way too hard for any of these teams to come out of nowhere and be able to get through the Twins, the Rays, the Yankees, and the Astros. It's just for me, I can't see that going down here. So as that goes, you and I mentioned we both got on the Reds early. So 25-1 right now isn't necessarily as appealing that if you're looking right here on your screen, which is what we've got going on. Any of these other ones that at all that could possibly that you might want to get in your account? Like I said, I kind of like the Padres and I kind of like the Diamondbacks, and could they squeeze into one of those wild card spots? Is there any chance in the world they get past the Dodgers? I mean, look, we saw the Dodgers get beat last year, right? So I mean, like anything can happen once you kind of get into one of these short series. So I mean, there's 45-1 and 50-1 on the Padres and the Diamondbacks. Maybe that would be the only way you'd get me to go after one of these longer teams.
I bet the Padres back in February. So I have okay, here's a question. I bet some of these futures pre-COVID that are still open. I bet Padres World Series, which I guess makes sense.
Yeah.
But I bet like most home runs on Soto and Yordan Alvarez that are still open. The book hasn't voided those bets, which I found weird. Huh. Is that normal?
I mean, I guess because that bet is still technically available, you know?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I feel pretty good about it because those are two longer shots and their prices are dropped. But yeah, I found that interesting. But yeah, I do have a Padres ticket that is apparently still open at 50-1, which is right around where they're priced right now. That's about it. I guess maybe the Brewers, you can get 40-1 at Fox Bet would be the place to bet the Brewers. Other than that, I don't see a whole lot here.
Same with me. Let's head over to AL MVP, and this is pretty easy. My advice right here: Mike Trout is sitting at 2-1. Do not bet on Mike Trout as far as the MVP goes, guys. Like I said, I mean, he's pretty much made it known that he is going to go for the birth of his child, and if that's the case, he has to be quarantined for 14 days, which means he's going to miss about 9, 10, 11 games, depending on which stretch of the season that it's in. And when you're talking about missing that type of hunk of the season, Brett, I mean, the counting stats alone just aren't going to be there for him to win the MVP. So all I can say from the AL side, immediately scratch off Trout and then start going from there.
Absolutely. And that opens up some value because Mike Trout is plus 125 at Fox Bet. Why?
I know.
Why? Who's betting that?
I know. There are people who are betting that thinking that it's like a sharp bet. I'm like, guys, listen to the guy talk. Like, he has all but said, I'm leaving when my kid gets born. Like, he has all but said it out loud. So, I mean, I don't know. I can't imagine doing that. So here's where I'm going to need you to talk me off a ledge. Talk me off of Nelson Cruz at 125-1, 125-1. One of the most consistent hitters in all of baseball over the last decade. And we are talking about a 60-game sprint. Are you telling me that there is not a case to be made for a guy that gets a ton of games against the Royals and a ton of games against the Tigers, for him to maybe hit 20 home runs in 60 games, knock in a bunch of runs and whatever? Like, he could easily hit over 300 in a stacked lineup. I don't know, man. You tell me. You tell me why at 125 that I should be off of Nelson Cruz.
125. I'm seeing 100-1 at DraftKings now.
120.
They heard you. It moved.
Oh my God, they heard. This isn't even live, and like, oh man, they heard me. But even then, okay.
Wait. 125 at Fox Bet. So there is a number out there. So
it's still available. All right.
I can't talk you off that. I love the Twins just as much as you do, and he is their best hitter. So why not? What other Twins do we see on here? We see Polanco at 80-1. We see Buxton 100. Kepler. They're all there together.
Yeah. And I mean, like, guys, I'm highlighting it again just to drive this home here on your screen if you're watching on YouTube. Like, he is going to be hitting third in a lineup with Kepler and Polanco in front of him and then Donaldson behind him. So when he gets on base, he's going to get knocked in as well. So he's going to score a bunch of runs. He's going to knock in a bunch of runs. He's going to hit a bunch of home runs. And he plays a higher percentage of his games against crappy teams this year in the Royals and the Tigers. Brett, for me, man, this is just, and he picks up games against the Pirates as well because of that whole kind of super central thing.
Would they give a MVP to a DH? What does he have to do from like, what is,
that's why I think that this is weird.
Need?
That's why I think that this is like a weird scenario this year where like a DH or a pitcher or like what, like a closer maybe even or whatever, yes, something like that, like could possibly win these awards because we're not going to see the typical types of seasons out of people. And so like even the guy being a DH, if he hits 330 with 21 home runs in 60 games and whatever, like they're just not going to be able to avoid giving him the award, where over the course of 162 games, they might be like, yeah, he did that, but like this guy's really, really close, and he plays, and he plays in the field. There, if Nelson Cruz hits 330 with 21 home runs, like there's not going to be another person hit 330 with 21 home runs. So like he would be the very best bat in all of the league. So I don't know. Again, just at 100-1, it seems like a nice little ticket to have, like, whatever, a $20 in your account or something like that.
I don't hate it.
Over on the NL side, I want to ask your opinion here before. I mean, we see a ton of, and I'm scrolling down to the lineup just so that you guys can take a look at that before I flip over to the odds here. But you look at this lineup here for the Dodgers, you see how incredibly stacked it is, and then you flip over here to the odds of the NL MVP, and then you see it right at the top. Betts and Bellinger right there at the top as far as plus 5.5 and 7-1 on those two guys to win the NL MVP. Brett, I mean, do you have any concern a team that is a minus 715 favorite to win their division will rest any of these stud players of theirs because they can, and like they don't need to roll them out there, and risk sort of anything with these guys? Like, I don't know. I think it's at least on the table in a season like this where maybe Betts and Bell, especially as deep and as loaded as this Dodgers team is, that you see some days off for these guys down the stretch if they're up an insurmountable lead.
Maybe. It's hard to imagine teams resting their top players in a short season, but the Dodgers are deep enough to where they might be able to do that. Give Betts a Sunday off or Bellinger a Sunday off, that kind of thing. Maybe. I would not bank on that if that's leaning you off one of these two guys to win MVP. I don't think that's predictive.
Yeah, I'll tell you where I am landing. And that's over here on Fox Bet. If you click over here on Fox Bet and then you kind of go to these MLB awards and click on the National League Awards and then hit the old MVP here. Give me some Pete Alonso here at 33-1. And I'll tell you why, Brett. And we talked about how competitive we expect that division to be. So when you have four really good teams in a division like we talked about, if the Mets are going to come out of that division and beat the Braves and beat the Nationals and beat the Phillies, you have to assume that one of their big boppers is probably having a massive season, and that's likely to be Pete Alonso. And at 33-1 for him to win the MVP, I think that's a little bit disrespectful for a dude that would be the heart and soul of a team making a run out of the National League.
He is the face of the team. He's the most likely to win the award for sure. But I can get double the odds on Jeff McNeil, who I think is a better player. I feel like you're paying more to get Alonso. Nobody's betting Jeff McNeil to win MVP. For me, it's a price thing. I think McNeil's a better player, so I would probably lean more on McNeil, but I totally get it. Like if the Mets win the division and Alonso hits 18 home runs,
right,
he's way more likely to win it. Even if McNeil has a better season, they're just going to give it to Alonso.
Yeah, so I did put that one in the old account there, and that was my reasoning behind it. So by all means, if you like that reasoning here, but in a competitive division with a team that is going to you can see, Acuna is 9-1. I'm not betting Acuna at 9-1. There's just no way, but you're going to give me a guy that is the Acuna of the other team, and I'm getting 33-1 on him, then that's going to be kind of where my money's going to go, especially in a season like this, as we keep mentioning, kind of like over and over and over again. Brett, outside of that, let's talk. We'll do real quick on the Cy Young. I don't know if you have any strong opinions on the Cy Young. I guess my only strong opinion to people out there is, I keep saying over and over again, is just embrace the variance here. And I love Jacob deGrom. I don't wish for him to get hurt. I think if he stays healthy, he probably does win another Cy Young. But the problem is in a 60-game season, one blister or one whatever that cost you a start or two could derail your Cy Young chances altogether. So for me, I'm not looking at these short odds guys really at all. And so if anything, I would be looking much, much deeper into the player pool here. And we talked about even relievers. Hader comes in at 50-1 for a Brewers team that, again, probably going to be blowing teams out. So Hader could get a lot of saves even in a 60-game season. I'm leaning more into this weird area than I am at the top here, just because, again, you miss one or two starts and it probably is all over for you.
I'm with you. I was looking at Hader too, and it's not just saves. They're going to throw him into every high leverage situation they can because they can afford to. It's a short season. They're going to run this guy into the ground. So he's going to be their savior, really, in a lot of these games and important games, especially down the stretch. And I think the Brewers are going to be in it. So Hader could be the guy who sneaks up on people and wins that Cy Young award out of the bullpen. I think he's the only guy who could do that really in the National League. So he'd be the only guy I really look at from the closer role to win the Cy Young. We talked about Paddock, as a possibility. He's 33-1, but I'm with you. I'm not paying a price on some of these top guys. As good as deGrom and Scherzer are, I can't do it when you just don't know what's going to happen over 60 games.
And Buehler, the workload thing is already a concern with him. So I'm not going to be doing that at 8-1 either. Over on the AL side, Garrett Cole plus 275. I'm keeping with my same deal, even though I will say it's likely to be, if Cole stays healthy, it is likely to be Garrett Cole. We don't think that the Yankees are necessarily going to run away with that division, so I don't see him getting limited innings. I can see him being kind of the workhorse there for them all the way down the stretch. That being said, again, I just can't pay 2.75-1 on a bet where, again, you miss one start, you might be out of the whole thing here. So for me, Brett, I'm not on Cole. I'm not on Verlander. I'm not on Bieber. I'm not on Snell. I'm not on any of those guys. Like, you are going to find me more in this area way kind of down here where I think that there's some of these weird guys down here. I think, like, maybe it's a Paxton, like maybe Cole gets hurt and it's a Paxton that like leads that pitching staff or something. And you're going to give me 40-1 on him or something. Like, I would be looking more towards that, but I'll admit I don't have a single AL Cy Young award bet in my account.
I don't like any of these. I will not have a Cy Young award in my account either. I'm already so exposed to these Rays pitchers that I don't need any action on Cy Young. Like, if these guys do well, then my bets hit. So that's fine with me. I don't need it.
Yeah, it is. None of these prices really jump off the page to me really at all. So that's, I know that's probably not what people are listening to hear, that we don't have any bets in our account, but hey, I'd rather tell you the truth here than like just pump you something just to hear our head rattle, right? Like, yeah. I'm not gonna do that. A couple of other bets here before we get out of here, guys. We do appreciate you being with us on this full preview, this long podcast and video. If you're watching here on YouTube, shake up in the Rookie of the Year. So we just want to put this out there. If you happen to catch this and you weren't able to catch the news, but Gavin Lux has actually been optioned to the taxi squad for the Dodgers. Yeah. What a luxury if you're so deep that you're going to send a guy that literally might be a top 50 player in all the game down to the taxi squad. So if you have a bet on Lux to win Rookie of the Year, just know that thing is in real trouble because he is down with the taxi squad here. So if you want to get some other bets down in some of these other Rookie of the Year, you might want to look at that. I mean, I explained 3 other ones that I had in my account in a video from a few weeks ago. Those prices really aren't still available, but It does look like Carter Kieboom's going to get a starting position there, Brett, for the Nationals, and a guy that's just a massive, huge prospect there, and everyday at bats for a team that we expect to be pretty damn good and score some runs and different things like that. Maybe if you're looking for an alternative, if you want to hedge off of Gavin Lux because you're too heavily invested and he is not going to start the year with the team, Kieboom is at least definitely going to be there.
Yeah, that's a tough one for the Lux ticket holders. I'm looking here at DraftKings, and they took NL Rookie of the Year off the board, so I'd have to
of course they did.
To look and see. But yeah, just so many question marks this year. I don't know when these guys are going to get called up. So, some of the guys will start immediately, but maybe like Tsutsugo for the Rays, he's expected to get a lot of playing time right away, and if the Rays are where I think they're going to be, they're going to need some of these younger guys to hit the baseball well, because they don't have that lineup that kind of like scares the life out of you. So maybe Tsutsugo in the American League. I don't have anything in the National League though.
Yeah, on the American League side, I mean, look, if Luis Robert does what he did in the minors, he's going to win it. But I mean, but you know, we've seen rookies, surefire rookies before who have not performed in their first seasons here. So, yeah, definitely. We, like you said, you at least know Tsutsugo is going to get at bats, right? I mean, in the heart of a lineup. So you can't say that about a lot of these other guys that are on the list here. The only other one I have, guys, Kyle Schwarber, and this is for kind of like player. This is for player futures, and this is for home run leader. Give me Kyle Schwarber at 50-1. And I'll tell you why. If you look at this guy, he hit 38 home runs last year, as it was anyway. He is projected to hit cleanup in this lineup for this Cubs team that is going to be like they're going to score some runs. They have some talent on that team here. Remember this. The addition of the DH means that Schwarber's going to play every single day, and he doesn't have to worry about being out in the field because everybody knows he's like the worst fielder in the history of Major League Baseball. So the dude is not going to have to worry about catching the ball anymore, Brett. All he has to do is worry about stepping in the box and smashing. He gets the Pirates, the Brewers, the Royals, the Tigers, all of that with that super central division there. If you want a long shot guy that you can kind of root for throughout the course of the season, 50-1 on Kyle Schwarber is in my account.
So this is at DraftKings, a Canby book. My local Buffalo book is a Canby book. I'm just making sure I can get 50-1 as well, because I don't know why Schwarber is 50-1. That doesn't make any sense. He's the same price as Luis Robert and Francisco Lindor. Why? Right. I know. It's like the price is all sorts of out of whack, and like there's just like no. You know, Robert is like projected to hit 8th or 9th in that lineup. And like Schwarber's literally going to be hitting cleanup in a lineup with a ton of talent around him and stuff. And so 50-1 for me was a pretty good, you know, again, for a dude that we know can hit bombs and now doesn't have to play the field. Like he can just go in there and all he has to worry about is hitting. He doesn't have to worry about like missing all the balls in the outfield like he does all the time. So yeah, there he is, 50-1. I'm definitely getting that one in my account. So thank you for that one. I'll tell you.
Yeah, really do like that one. That one's in my account. And other than that, I don't really have any strong feelings because I think anything can happen. So I wanted to take a long shot. I wanted to take a guy that I think has a real chance of getting there. And so that's where I am on that. Are there any other bets that are in your account before we let people go?
I think I hit all of them. The other one I was looking at was Austin Meadows. Oh, there's a Joey Gallo AL MVP. I love that one because I do like the Rangers a lot. The other one I was looking at was Austin Meadows AL MVP, but now that he's tested positive for COVID, he's probably going to miss some time, so I'm off of that one. But
you can see here, guys, on the screen, short season specials. So, I mean, there's lots of over at DraftKings. If you do want to play in any of these, you know, any player to hit 20 home runs, any pitcher to record 100 strikeouts, will anybody throw a no-hitter, like things like that. You can bet on all those if you just want to have some fun bets in your account to be sweating throughout the course of the season as well. And, of course, you can see here, game lines, they are listed. So you've got game lines that are already ready to go because we are going to have baseball here in just a few days. Brett, I know you're excited. I'm excited, ready to get things going here and feel pretty good about some of the bets we have in our account. No doubt about it.
Go Rays. That's all.
Go Rays. Go all
I'm
these other
so
guys.
invested in the Rays this year. It's going to make it a fun. It's going to make it a fun watch.
fingers crossed that we can get through 60 games, guys.
Yeah.
We do appreciate you being with us here on the podcast each and every week. And again, if you want to follow Brett at Brett Colson, I'm at Matt Brown M2 at the Lines US on Twitter machine. If you want to follow just the main account, and of course, all the previews and everything that we're talking about, you can find over just at the website as well, thelines.com. For Brett, I'm Matt. Talk to you guys next week.